Right, in this video, we're going to be working on solving story problems where we have variables on both sides. So just like every other story problem we've done, we're going to do the three parts: define the variable, write the equation, and solve. Okay, so if we read through this first problem, UPS charges $12 just to send a package and $1 for every pound that package is. FedEx charges $5 to send a package and $2 for every pound. Okay, so then how many pounds will it take for UPS and FedEx to cost the same? So there's a couple ways to know on a test or quiz if we are having a variables on both sides problem. So one hint is I'm normally asking you when two different things cost the same. And the two different things we're talking about here is FedEx comparing to UPS. And we know we want those to be equal. So if I'm kind of thinking ahead to our equation, I'm going to have one side of my equation represent everything from UPS, and I'm going to have everything on the other side of my equation represent FedEx. Okay, and I'm trying to figure out when they're the same or equal, which is why I'm setting UPS equal to FedEx. So my question here is asking us to find how many pounds. So that's what we don't know. We don't know how many pounds we need a USPS package to be and a FedEx package to be. So I'm going to use X, and it's going to represent pounds. Okay. So if I'm looking at UPS, I have two numbers. Okay, it's $12 to send a package, and it's $1 for every pound that package is. So notice pounds here, this is my variable. So 1x, so $1 for every pound, plus the $12 I have to send a package. Okay, that's calculating my total cost for UPS. For FedEx, they charge $5 to send a package and $2 for every pound. Again, there's my variable, pound. So for every pound, I'm being charged $2, so 2 times X, plus the $5 to send a package in. So now all I have to do is solve it. I know UPS is set equal to FedEx right now, so I can solve for X to figure out how many pounds until they actually cost the same. So I'm just going to rewrite that down here. If you want to pause and solve this yourself first, you could. So I'm going to subtract my X. 12 is equal to 1x plus 5. Now I need to subtract 5 to find out that x is equal to 7. Okay, and remember this x is 7 pounds. Okay, so you could write out the word pounds, or the abbreviation for pounds is LBS. Okay, so that's technically your answer. So if you have a package that is 7 pounds, it will cost the same at each company. Okay, but that means if I have a package that's more than 7 pounds, one of these places is going to be cheaper. If I have a package less than 7 pounds, one of these packages is going to be cheaper. It just so happens if my package is exactly 7 pounds, it doesn't matter which company I use because I'm going to be paying the same. So I could also always ask you a follow-up question. With variables on both sides problems, sometimes there's a part D. Okay, so I might ask, how much is that cost? So I know they cost the same here. I might ask you how much that cost is. So we'll see that when we get into some practice problems. So I'm going to have you pause and see if you can do this next one on your own, and then play through to see how you did or if you get stuck somewhere. Okay, so your problem should be done now. So you're trying to find how many weeks. So that's what we don't know. That is our variable, is the number of weeks. Okay, and the two things we're comparing is Pedro's account to Maria's account. So you don't have to label your equations with the different sides. It's good to show you guys this. So the more you do them, you might not be labeling your sides. But Pedro, I know, had $710, and he withdrew, meaning subtraction, $35 a week. So he started with $710. He's withdrawing $35 every week. Okay, Maria had $570. She's withdrawing, so subtracting again, $25 every week. So realize each side here is calculating how much is left in their bank account after X weeks. Okay, so that's why we can set these equal to each other. It's saying, when will Pedro's account be equal to Maria's account? What value of X will make their accounts equal? So that's why this isn't going to answer our question. How many weeks until their accounts have the same amount in them? Okay, so now all I have to do is solve. So I'm going to rewrite this down here. Okay, so if you haven't solved yet, make sure you pause. If you got the wrong equation there and had to fix it, pause and then solve this one. So remember, there's more than one step I could do first. I'm choosing to, well, actually, I'm going to add 35x. So I have 710 left. So remember, this is a negative 25 there because it's being subtracted. So when I add there, I'm going to get a positive 10x. Now I'm going to subtract my 570 because I'm trying to get x by itself. That goes away. I have my 10x. Okay, 570. When I subtract, I get 140. So my last step here is to divide by 10 on both sides. And I get x is equal to 14 weeks. Okay, so in 14 weeks, Pedro and Maria will have the same amount of money in their account. Okay, so you don't have to write this, it's just putting more meaning to our answer. So how many weeks until their accounts will be equal? 14 weeks, their accounts will have the same amount of money in them. So only one more problem to try in this video. So I do want you to pause and try it on your own first. Realize there is a part D here. Now you might struggle with part D, so at least do A, B, and C, and then I can help you out with part D if you are stuck. Alright, so in this question it says, how many minutes until the two plans cost the same for 1 month? So you're trying to find the number of minutes. So that's what our variable represents. Okay, and Tim is trying to decide between Verizon and Sprint. So those are our two things we're comparing. And I didn't mention this in the last problem, but if you have these two like on opposite sides, that's fine. You're going to get the same answer. Okay, there's no reason why Verizon has to be on this side. It's just I have all of my numbers for Verizon on one of the sides, and Sprint is on just all on the other. So Sprint, I've got $40 a month, $3 for each additional minute. So these are kind of both rates, but they said for 1 month here, which means that 40 is our constant. just one time. I have to pay that in a month. Where the $3 I have to pay for every single minute, which I don't know how many of those I have. So 3x plus, that's for Sprint. 3x plus 40. Gotta erase that. Okay, and same thing here, you could have 40 plus 3x, and that's the same thing. So Verizon, I've got $75 for a month and $2 every minute. So this is 2x plus my 75. Okay, and again, you could have 75 plus 2x there. So now I just need to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 2x first. Again, that does not have to be your first step. Okay, there's many ways to solve these problems. So I get x plus 40. To get x alone, I'm going to cancel my 40 now. And I get 35, and I'm going to make room because this is 35 minutes is my answer there. So for 1 month, if Tim uses 35 minutes, it doesn't matter which plan he chooses because it's going to cost the same. So then I asked you to give Tim some advice here, and this is a thinker problem because we know nothing about Tim. We don't know if Tim is a second grader. We don't know if Tim is a college student. We don't know if Tim is a 90-year-old man. Okay, because every one of those people I just said, whether he's second grader, college, or an old man, we don't know how many minutes that type of person would use. Okay, so I would probably think a college student's going to use the most minutes, and I would think, and so not everyone uses the same amount of minutes. So only if they have 35 minutes does it not matter. So the plan Tim uses actually depends. So I'm going to say it depends. Okay, and what does it depend on? It depends on if Tim's going to use more than 35 minutes, minutes, or less than 35 minutes. Because one of these places is cheaper for each situation here. So if he uses less than 35 minutes, I need to figure out, well, which place is cheaper, Verizon or Sprint? So any number less than 35 I can use to figure this out. So say I use 1. Okay, Verizon for 1 minute costs me $77, right? All I did was plug 1 in for my minute, and I found $77. But for Sprint, if I use 1 minute, only costs me $43. So until I get to 35, right, I could keep changing this, 2 and 3 and then 4. I go all the way up to 34. But any number less than 35 is going to show me that this place is cheaper, which was Sprint. So Sprint is cheaper if Tim uses less than 35 minutes. So more than 35 minutes, I can do the same thing. At Verizon, so I want to pick a number greater than 35 to plug in. Okay, I chose 1 when I was doing less than 35 because that's a really easy number to do a calculation with. So when I think of a number greater than 35 that's really easy, I think of a 100, but you could use any number that's more than 35. Okay, so I'm plugging these both in. I've got Verizon and I've got Sprint here. So Verizon is going to cost me $275. Sprint's going to cost me $340. So when I do more than 35 minutes, Verizon is actually cheaper. So in my explanation, I need to tell I want to give Tim advice on the cheaper option. So I need to tell him both of these things. I need to tell him if Tim uses more than 35 minutes a month, he should choose Verizon. However, if Tim uses less than 35 minutes in a month, he should choose Sprint. Okay. Now, the first time doing this problem, if you tried it on your own, you probably didn't write this big paragraph. But on a test, I'm looking for this. You're telling me what happens for the more than 35 minutes. You're telling me what happens for the less than 35 minutes. And I should see some math going on. Okay, don't erase that. You should still write that down. So all of this thinking on a test, I should be able to see what's going on. Right, and that is the end of this video. We're going to do some practice now.